So I have reset the data formats and everything. Let's look at filtering now. So value filtering, um, just like sorting has date, text, numeric, and numeric text. In filtering, what I'm saying is we have value filtering, which is when we click on the drop downs here, you have the search option, right? You can choose to enter anything here, and based on what you have entered, it will give you all the matching values that contains the text that you have entered, whether it's a number or something else, right? Let me clear the filter. Okay, so that's value filtering for you, and it will work for dates, it will work for text, it will work for numbers, right? Let's let me show you an example for dates. So we have this here. Let's say I enter 24, and you would see 2024 entire year comes up. 2022 May 24th comes up, and so is June 24th in 2016, right? So it works with the year, month, day, everything, wherever 24 appears, right? So that's value filtering for you. You simply enter any value that you think you want to search, and it will basically search it for you. So contextual filtering. So just like we have different data types, uh, different needs occur when you want to filter the data, right? For example, if you have numbers, you might want to know the top 10 numbers, right? If you have text, you might want to know, or you want to filter, or you might want to filter data which contains a letter A or something else, right? So based on data type, you might want to consider different kinds of scenarios, right? So what we have in the data, we have dates, we have numbers, we have text, right? So let's look at date. When I click on drop down for dates, I have filter. So I can choose to have filter by color or font again, based on whether you have them in the data. And you have choose one here as the drop down. When you click on it, you would see you have different kinds of options available. And since it is a date, you have equals before or after certain date, tomorrow, today, yesterday, and so on, because Excel understand dates, right? If you want to um, filter text, if you go to this drop down again, you just have a few options compared to dates, which is equals, does not equal, begins with, and so on, right? So let's say does not equal, right? And let's say ALICE, right? And it will filter out everything that is uh, LS, correct? And then you can have multiple such filters applied on the textual. So you can use and or or. I hope you remember what is and or. So use those kind of logic in terms of filtering the data. You will get to know more about how to use them when you actually do exercises. Um, and let's take a look at numbers. When I click on this drop down and choose, it will ask me greater than, less than, which is contextually relevant for numeric numbers, right? So text, date, numbers, these are the broad categories when you want to use filtering, right? Color is something that we have already discussed related to sorting, right? So it is for cell and font both, and you can choose these colors specifically to filter as well, right? So they work exactly similar to what how we used it in sorting. So let me take these three cells and I go to home, and let's say I change the color to this yellow, right? And apply filter. And when I click on the drop down and choose, sorry, I choose by color. Okay, I can choose to filter by this color. Okay, or I can reverse it like this. So I can choose to filter based on colors, and I can choose to filter based on non-colored cells, right? So these were the filtering for colors. Filtering using formulas. Uh, so let's say I want to filter out everything in column G. which is greater than let's say 80, right? So what I can do is use this equals to, choose the entire array and say greater than 80 and press enter. You would see you get a boolean column which has false and true values, which are indicative of whether this number is greater than 80 or not, right? So if you would see that there are three numbers, 97, 87 and 99, which are greater than 80. What you can do now is you can choose to have a filter here, and you can choose true or false based on what kind of value do you want to show, right? So this is formula based filtering, right? You can choose a formula to identify certain numbers or text, and then you can choose that resultant column in order to filter the data. Okay, so this entire thing was for sorting and filtering. Let's move on to grouping. So what is grouping? Grouping is to group the data in a way that will help you to navigate through larger data sets, right? So let me remove these two columns first. Okay, now let's sort this data based on department in ascending order, right? Now I have only 20 rows of data here, but let's say you have 20,000 and so on, right? And you want to say, I want to group this finance as one row, okay, so that I can choose to see other data sets. Okay, so now that I have reset the entire workspace, let's move on to grouping the data, right? So for grouping, I'll give you an example of how to, like, why do we need grouping? Grouping helps us to navigate larger data sets, and if you want to do something similar to pivot tables where we have subtotals on different levels of data, and when I say levels, that is different segments of data. For example, this entire data set can be broken down into four different segments, which is based on departments, so finance, HR, IT, and marketing, right? What we can do is we can group these individually and showcase individual numbers on this data so that anyone can understand what finance as a whole look like and HR as a whole looks like, and so on, right? So what we can do is we can choose to like we can choose this column, go to data and click on subtotal below group and ungroup, right? And then we can click on OK, right? So what it does is it will give you the count of department because this is the only column that we chose to showcase, right? Now obviously you can choose to have subtotal in here as well, right? And this will showcase 5 again because this is what we have chosen. So instead of 3 we can choose to have sum, and it will showcase you the sum, right? With this we have the groups of the entire data set as here, right? So I can collapse this entire group and you would see that I have the value for that group. I can choose to collapse finance and you would see that the two summary numbers will be seen here, right? I can choose multiple subtotals based on what I want to see, and based on that I can have a group segment wise grouping collapsed, and I can see one snapshot of the entire data set, or I can choose to collapse the entire data set, and so on, right? So this grouping is rarely used in data analytics. However, this is a good thing to know because a lot of files you might get will contain these kind of groupings, and you want to know and you might want to know how to deal with these kind of situations where you see these, and how to navigate through Excel, right? So I can choose the entire thing and basically ungroup, right? It will take me a couple of tries to get to to remove all the groupings, and this is how it's done, right? or I can choose to do Control Z and get back into the previous version of the data, right? So this was filtering, sorting, and grouping for you. With the filtering, sorting, and grouping, let's look at some of the common features that we will use while we are navigating through the data. So we are going to use the View tab, and I'll explain a few things about the View tab. Right. So we have some most used features that I personally use more commonly. So one of them is grid line. So I can uncheck this box, and every grid that you see, the column, the rows, the lines identifying the cells, okay, they are gone. You can bring them back by simply doing this, right? I remove them to make the page a blank, and like if I want a certain format to be shown or highlight a certain area of the page, I use this. And you can choose to remove formula bar as well, in case you are not working on formulas but just data, and you want more real estate in order to showcase the data or see the data, right? You can also choose to remove headings, which is the name of the columns and name of the rows, right? Zoom in, zoom out, I think this is very basic. And then this is a very good option that we have. So for example, I have this data. Okay, let me copy and paste it multiple times so that I can show you exactly what I mean, right? So if I, let's say I have this data and I go to the end of it, I want to know what is this no, what does it mean? What is the column name? So I have to go back, okay, at the top, and I'll have to see this, the column name, which is has bonus, right? So I want the functionality that I should be able to see the column names, okay, no matter where I'm at within the sheet, right? So I can do in like I can choose this option, which is freeze top row, right? It will freeze the first row of the data, which would be column, in this case column names. So I can now scroll down throughout the data without hiding the column names, right? So no matter where I'm at, I will see the rows, and I will immediately know this is the column name, right? You have multiple options with freeze pane. You can unfreeze pane, of course, right? And you can freeze the panes for the selected cell. For example, I also want to navigate to the right of the sheet. Like I have a lot of data. For example, let me take this entire data here, paste it, and then again paste it, right? So now I have to navigate to the right as well. Okay, so my requirement now is that I should be able to see not only the columns but also the rows of the first column, right? So I can choose this B2 cell and freeze panes. So what it will do, it will freeze everything on the left and on the top of this selected cell. Okay, so now if I go on the right, you will see the first column remains as is, right? So just like freeze top row, we have freeze first column as well, right? So you have all the options, either freeze the top row or first column, or you can freeze anything above or on the left hand side of a particular cell, right? Let me unfreeze this, right? Okay. I can choose to hide this entire sheet, but the problem with hide is it will basically hide the entire workbook. So what we will have to do is we have to click on unhide by going to a separate Excel workbook, right? So like try to hide this worksheet, okay, and see what will happen. Let's take it as an exercise, and then you have split. So for example, let me take this data set. Okay, I just copy some part of it. I paste it here, and let's say I have some other data set which is like here, and some other data set here, some other data set here. I can choose any row in between these and basically split. Okay, so now each of these different parts of the Excel will work as separate units. Right? So this is it, and then you have this, and then you can go here, right? So you can choose to navigate, okay, different parts of the same workbook, right? So why is it helpful? If you have a lot of data sets in a single sheet, or you have a lot of places to look at the same time, you can split the entire screen into four parts and you can navigate it through, right? So by the way, these four parts are exactly same parts, right? They have the same data, same number of rows, same number of columns and everything, right? Okay, so let's remove the split, go back to the previous data. You can also use switch windows. So switch windows helps you to navigate through workbooks, not just sheets. So you can click here and select any workbook that you want to navigate to, right? View macros, record macros, and these options are relevant for the part where we will cover some of the coding stuff, the automation stuff. Okay, thank you.